All right, I think we're live. Hello, and welcome everyone to the, I believe it's the 38th multiplayer live stream. Yep, 38. We have some interesting new stuff today. Two things, actually. The research AI has been upgraded um, to the new AI system, new AI engine, so it won't be stupid anymore for the stuff that we'll end up building. And but more importantly, that you can see is we finally have implemented capacitors into the system. And to me, this is a major, major milestone because it was something that was built into the system ever since the beginning, but nothing ever really took advantage of it. It just didn't make any sense. So today I'll try to make sense to you. The graphics on the particular thing isn't all cleaned up yet, but it's functional. Matt and I were working on it all last night and this morning. Matt, however, is on vacation, which he desperately needs, and he should have. So, without further ado, we'll get into the system now. That's what happens. All right.
While we're setting up the lobby, what's up? I guess we could do this either when we're in, or you could do it now if you want to explain what specifically we mean by capacitors.
Well, most space games have some sort of concept that you have a limited amount of time you can hold down the fire button before you run out of laser power or pulse power or whatever. And so that was added into the concept from the very beginning of the game. I'm going to turn down the music here.
Yeah, also go ahead and turn me down, honestly.
Okay. What do you mean turn you down?
My volume came through a little loud.
Looks like you're okay according to this. Alright, well, in any case. Back to this. Alright, so server's up, by the way. Now, I guess initially, are we going to have the AI there or no? Or do you just want to look at the how the capacitors work, and then we'll worry about the AI?
I don't know. I guess it boils down to, and I guess thoughts Paul Ogre as well. Do we want to trial by fire with the capacitors? Do we want to build something real quick and then play against the AI?
It's probably better to show it off and then go back in.
I agree.
Alright, so alright, the scenario's been selected. I guess we'll be on alpha for right now. Alright, so getting back to what capacitors are. The idea is, up to this point, if you wanted to fire all the time, you had to have a big enough engine to supply that power. So, Jordan, since you like building the city and doing the research, just sort of, if you would, just get the minimal up and then just research straight to the capacitors, if you would, please.
Yep.
So, here, I'll bring up the research. So, here are capacitors. And what they do, the main capacitors for a concept that we refer to as a reactor, it's a relative battery. We're not going to do anything with that today. But there's the shield capacitor, which still is very nebulous, I'll be first to admit. But there's the weapon engine capacitor. And what this does is it lets you have a far smaller reactor to provide power and still have performance. Because most of the time you're not firing your weapons 100% of the time. And your engines aren't running full tilt 100% of the time. Not even to keep you aloft, if you will. And so there's a lot of wasted power. And to make it more efficient, you have a capacitor. So you can still get performance for when you need it. So if you're doing a strafing run, the strafing run takes maybe a good 5-6 seconds, constantly firing, having a 7 to 10 second weapon capacitor makes a lot of sense. Because then you can fit a lot more weapons on, etc., and you won't notice the difference. Now, the flip side of the performance end is it will then take that much longer to refill that capacitor. And so that's a balance, and we're still working on that. So it looks like we have looks like we have stuff being built. That's a good thing.
I have unfortunately crashed out. It looks like we're going to start building something.
Really.
Back in shortly.
All right. Well, continue then. I hope that's not something that's going to be endemic.
Find out.
All right. Just to speed things along, I ordered it to build the next thing. If this becomes a continuous thing, then I'll do the building, but we're definitely going to test that on Thursday. If somehow that got broken. Did anybody else crash out?
I did, but I was kind of like looking through the other subscreens to take a look at the graphics. So that's when I crashed out.
All right, Ogre, did you crash?
I crashed out, but I was just sitting there not doing anything. So.
All right, that means something's going on in the system. Lovely. All right, this is what we do for that testing. So in any case, the research screen is up.
I am reconnecting.
All right. Everybody else, please reconnect. I am doing capacitors first, just so I can show this. Now, the whole point of capacitors is to be able to put more stuff onto a ship and not really realistically sacrifice performance. That's a balancing act, no doubt. And where that balance will be to individuals' preferences, of course. It's too bad Adam's not here. This would be the first time for him truly to test his capacitors in action.
Oh, probably he's, going hard on the
Okay.
we don't need the main capacitor?
No, that's just superfluous. You can get it. It won't matter for at this point.
Alright, then I'll grab the research from here while you show the thing.
Okay. So, here we are in the Quick Designer. And if we just hit defaults, one of the things I wanted to bring up is, should we have capacitors as defaults if it notices you have them as a technology already? Because that kind of matters in the sense of, I mean, this is kind of what 1 space equals stored 25 power, etc.
I think that might be very situational because of what I tell people in the tutorials is the default builds the best ship it can with the components you have available, and so I think that might be really situational whether or not capacitors or no is the best ship you can build. If you have really advanced reactors that don't take up a lot of space, it might be better to just use those, if that makes sense.
I think reactors always, unless you're talking about high tier, and even then they're going to take a lot more than capacitors are. That's always kind of the whole idea, but in any case. So here's the typical 1 beam stock ship right here, alright? I'm going to choose a different one because I know this still crashes this. We'll use that ship design. Now, if I go into power ratio, it brings up this brand new little additional screen. Now, the idea is everything's going to shift left and we'll recenter things, etc. So if you click on the checkbox up here for a weapon capacitor, it adds the weapon capacitor in here. Now, normally you sit there and move the slider for the power ratio. In this case, I actually want to look at what this is going to be. So, if you notice, there's 2 things here. There's the this gauge that says how many seconds your weapon can fire before you run out of power. And as you notice, as I make it bigger, it makes the stored amount bigger, etc. And this says how much is directly coming from the reactor and how much is coming straight from the capacitor. So as you bring this down, I'm just holding my mouse button on this, it will, if you notice, the power ratio goes down. So if I pull this up, the power ratio goes way the hell up. And if I pull this down, it goes significantly down. Now, why is it down to like 56%? Well, it's because half the power of the ship is from firing the weapons. I mean, if you add everything up, the only thing that's drawing power is the weapons and the thrusters. And the thrusters right now aren't drawing that much power. So power required 11. This goes, so it's 15 power, and the main gun is pulling 20. The cockpit pulls another 5. So yeah, it is pretty much 50-50 right there. So if I went completely, brought this down to almost 0, we're close to 50%. Now this would be a ridiculous thing because you have 10 seconds of firing, it would take forever to recharge it. So let me put this back here so you can actually see what this is actually entailing. So this shows you how much this capacitor is storing. Now, realistically, we're going to try to put this as about like a third. Now, I want to make note of here, if I put this back up to 100% so that all the reactor is just doing everything, we're at 95 space, and that's the reactor's up that far. So let's make this a little more realistic. Let's put like 4 guns in here. All right. Now we're at 225. Our normal top end is 250, right? For space. There's a new limitation. As a matter of fact, just for ha-has, I'm going to put this up to 5 guns. Now we're at 267. If I try to save this, it's going to complain that, and Paul, we need to do something about these pop-ups because we need better backdrops.
Okay.
You see how transparent that is so you can't read it?
Screen.
Yeah. But the
Okay.
point is that I can't save it because my limitation right now is at 250. So even though I want 5 guns, it won't actually fit. Okay. Well, if I put this weapon capacitor and I pull this down, notice how much space I'm saving because the power ratio is going down, and the power ratio means the reactor is smaller and smaller and smaller, even though I am putting in a bigger and bigger capacitor. So you can see how much space and weight it takes compared to how much space and weight the reactor would be. And so wait, there's more. So now if I add a thruster capacitor, meaning for the engines, and I change this as well, I can again pull down how big the reactor is. So between both of these, I am now running like just shy of 41%. And look at this. My space is at 208. And you know what that lets me do? Put more guns on. So there's the next one. And alright, so 7 guns is a little bit too big, but I can get 6 guns on it. So before I could only get 4. 5 was overloading it, as you noticed. But now I can get 6. And if I really want my 7th gun, I can probably still play with the capacitor sizes and get it to go below 250. Although I might regret it, because I'll never be able to recharge anything. There we go, so now I'm at 250. Now, look at the power ratio, 22%. So that means you can fly this guy around, and he'll fire, but you probably will take forever to recharge the main capacitor. And so that's what you have to decide whether or not that matters to you or not. I think to me it does. But also means that instead of putting a 7th gun on, maybe you just want, extra armor or, a shield if you actually have them, that kind of thing. That's where that kind of thing matters. So I'm going to make this a little bit higher charged here. And I'll make that up to about here. And we're going to save the design. So this is 239. So this is well within normal parameters here. But now I have 6 guns on this thing. So I'm going to save it. Now if I go and look and see the design, let me guess, you crashed out again when you tried to send an order?
No.
Okay, I was surprised you don't have any, never mind, I'm looking at the wrong thing.
Money up.
Hmm?
Set my money up, so the factory's taking a minute.
Ah, I should probably have done that in the other system. But in any case, if you look down here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guns, and then here's our capacitors. Although I'm not sure why it says 2 sets, but that's okay. Actually, I'm kind of curious. Did I put that? No, that's one. Okay, well, there's a little bug there. But, so yeah, now we're just waiting for a factory to show up. And once we have that, we can actually make one of these and see how it actually flies. So let me go to the asset screen. And let's see what can be done here. So I have money. Jordan has no money. I'll give Jordan a lot of money because he needs more to build the city. Everybody else has money in one sense or another. So once we get a factory, people can start kicking out a version of what I just built. That would be good. Now I know Ogre's personal preference is having a much more infinite firing ability, for lack of a better term. Which, for performance reasons, it may make more sense to do like a 20-second weapon capacitor and still have an advantage. Let's see if that actually does anything. So I still have my design in here. So what happens if I change this up to 20 seconds? Well, it puts us way above things, unfortunately. Can't exactly say that's surprising. So let's pull down the number of guns we have. Yeah, that's not too bad. So if I pull from 4 to 5, you know, and then maybe make a little bit less in the engines. Yeah, let's make it a little bit less in here. I guess for a capacitor that big, we've crossed that ratio that an engine is more efficient than simply a capacitor once you get to 20. That's interesting. So I'll crank this back to 15 then. Which means I could probably get the 6th gun in. Yep. Well, maybe not quite. It's a lot then. But it shows that you can tweak these numbers to get something is usable. So for example, this weapon capacitor is storing like over 1,000 energy, which is far more than the reactors kicking out. So is anybody actually producing anything yet?
The factory does exist.
Alright, I'll do the first one.
I'll throw one on myself.
Now, just so I know, you were able to continue building without crashing?
Yes, it did not crash again.
Okay, I was wondering what caused that. That's definitely something for a Thursday test to see what's... I mean, you would think that if it was still a problem, it would still be a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Especially since it kicked everybody else out, too. Alright, so this new ship will be out in about 40 seconds-ish. I'm still up here, just hanging out above the city here.
The new ship is Blast Furnace, Arthur?
Yes, it is.
Interestingly, when I look at it in the details, it says the space is 278.
I think for whatever reason, the capacitors were added twice. I didn't do a test with adding both engine and weapon capacitor before, and it might be a little glitch. So, like I said, it was mostly done late in the night and mostly this morning. So, alright, it came out. So let me possess it. And I should be in it. Here we are. So let's see how this thing performs. So let's see what the speed is. Speed's at 227. Alright. And let's see how it fires. Now, as you can see, the bigger bar on the right there is the main capacitor for the weapons, and I'm definitely putting out a lot of damage here. And now I'm completely out of power. I can tell by the sounds and the fact that beams are kind of blinking. And now you can see the slow recharge of the weapon capacitor. Now I had it like something like 30, like 60% capacitance versus direct from the reactor. So general rule would be that if it's 10 seconds to pull it down and you have a 60%, I guess it would take about 2 to 3 times that to refill it. So I wonder if what I was saying before is true. So I'm using my rear thruster to keep me aloft, and you can see the rate that it's refilling, and if I'm doing it like this, I wonder if it's going to slow down. Yep.
We have an indicator for the engine capacitor?
We do not, because it was never a consideration before. But what's interesting is there's more extra energy when I'm using my rear thruster by keeping me afloat versus when it's just my inertial. I'm not sure. I should be able to go into camera mode and actually show. I assume you see my rear thruster firing while I'm pointing up.
I forget which one you are.
Here, I'll go to here and
I'm not seeing an engine fire. I'm approaching you. You're in the other blast furnace, right?
yeah. Let's see if I can see it from this angle here. No, it's there. It's just very, very small because it's not using that much power. That's the point. I mean, when you're afterburnering, it's much more noticeable.
Oh, okay, there.
I mean, it's itty bitty, but you get it. So now my weapon capacitor is almost completely refilled. But as you can see, I got a pretty nice shot here. So I go to my old ship here and see what I can do to it. Whee. Okay, now within the weapon range. Now I'm actually physically bigger than my old ship, or maybe about the same size, I guess. So if I line it up, I can really have all the beams hit at the same time. Watch this. You can see I'm punching through different spots. Oh, I think I dropped it. Something happened to it. It's definitely landed not happy. It's just dropping out of the sky. Doesn't say that I knocked out an engine or something like that, but this must have hit something critical.
All the armor bars are all red.
Well, that's because I punched through, which is kind of the point. So I must have hit something nasty. Well, that makes you go there. So that gives you the idea of what this thing can do. I probably put too far in the extreme with the capacitors to sort of show a point. Obviously, a new ship just popped out. It's a new builder bot. Yeah, to fly by here. Make it grow. And like I said, the whole point is that it lets you put more firepower, or more defense, or whatever, more of whatever, on a ship without losing too much performance. Obviously, we're going to have to play with it a little bit to see what is more ideal. But things are working as expected, and that's a good thing. Now, I will freely admit that the recharge time on my weapons are probably a lot longer than I expected. But again, what I'm going to do is there is actual information in the system saying how long it takes to recharge. And that's one of the things I'm going to have it display, but it's not there yet. So, any questions before we try with an enemy AI?
Nope.
Okay, then we'll exit out and we'll start all over and we'll try with enemy AI and we'll see how the research works. All right.
You
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Righto.
Server down and I'm restarting.
I was following that as best I could from the live stream. I did not yet get a chance to test it myself.
Now, one of the big things I've been trying to do over the last couple weeks was convert everything over to the new AI engine, which originally was just the builder bot for the longest time was on that engine. The decision maker to decide what to research does seem to work with Jordan's personality traits for the AIs. And so different ones will select different things based on the personality traits, which is kind of interesting. One of the initial flaws that I had was it didn't do a consideration of how long it would take, so it kept going through tier 1, tier 2, etc., and going on forever, which was not helpful. So now it actually does consider if it really takes a long time, whether or not it's worth it as much or not. And so that's its own thing there. By the way, server's up. And
What personality traits does this AI have?
it's random each time. So I have no idea what it's going to have.
Fully random? Or is there like accepted range?
Well, it's within legal ranges of the attributes.
Like, that it doesn't random roll a 100% passive AI that won't even fight us.
That won't happen. The game's not built that way. I don't even know how that would even happen. The game might surprise me, but no, that's not how that happens. And besides, the War Master is just picking what's researching. It's not controlling the ships. The Admiral's controlling the ships. And it's still being done as a post. The intent is to change all that, of course. I guess I'm the War Master again? Okay. Alright, let's start then. And we'll see whether or not, if this does a thing or not. Okay, this is going to matter because... So Jordan, if you start it up, that'd be good. The enemy is far enough away that they are unknown. Although, we could probably get an idea, and from this kind of distance, we can probably see the flaring of when they start building something to get an idea where they are. I know we haven't done an actual enemy AI in quite a few months now. If I remember, that's kind of where it was left. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be spending more time on bug fixing versus adding new features, trying to get things ready for the final main push. So a lot of things that are kind of out of whack right now are going to change. Oh, I just spotted them in the distance there.
Yes, and I'm also stuck.
Why are you stuck?
It looks like we are crashing on the very first building being built.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I froze.
Should I log or should I just get right back in?
I'll just get right back in. I will test this on Thursday. I mean, to successfully make it, I don't know why the server's not going down, but you know how this goes.
Yeah. I can say both times now it crashed on the first reactor going down and not since.
Now, and you built a secondary reactor at a different time, yes?
Yeah, they built other reactors later.
So that's not it then. That's really weird. I mean, I can see him doing this thing off in the distance there.
I guess that opens up the other question. I'm pretty sure it crashed on our first building built, not on his.
That's true, because you did it last time there was no enemy AI.
Oh, I can see the enemy encampment's power lines between the buildings.
Yeah. I can barely see it there, but it is there. And he's building again. So he's doing his thing.
Reconnecting. Fun.
Well, someone's down there moving. That's gotta be you. Yeah, we'll work out what happens in that regard. So, if people can, I'd like you. Well, I guess we don't have capacitors yet, so I should test that out. At least conceptually, do people get what capacitors are supposed to be? Bueller?
I mean, I get it.
All right. Well, I was asking
Yeah.
the peanut gallery here. I'm looking forward to see how useful it will be. I mean, if it gives you like 30 to 50% more weaponry, that's a lot. You know. Definitely will feel better once I get that little thing up there saying how long it will take to recharge the capacitor, because then that gives you a much better view of what you're asking for.
By the way, did you set my money up?
I did not, and thank you for reminding me. Jordan gets all the money. There you go. So you get twice the shares of everybody else. Well, you don't have anything down yet, so it doesn't really matter to show off
Well,
much.
yeah, but
So that presents an interesting question. Now, right now the enemy bases aren't that far away, and obviously within visual range. Do we want it so that obviously isn't the case? I mean, you are on a planet, and it is kind of bright.
I would assume that they probably shouldn't be starting within visual range, but that would be like when we actually have. There should be a few nodes in between you and the enemy, so that you. I don't know. I don't really think you should necessarily always be fighting over the very first node you go for.
True. I mean, you're supposed to be starting on the node effectively, and so is he. Nodes are coming very, 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 very soon. I've already started to write the code for it. It just hasn't been finished, finalized. It might be there next time. I don't really know. It'll definitely be there the time afterwards, because it'll have to be. But the good news is that I am finishing up on all the AI additions. There is actually new enemy fighter AI. I did not turn it on for today's tests because I have not thoroughly tested it sufficiently that I thought the live stream could benefit from it. Meaning, if it went badly, there wasn't a lot I could do about it during the live stream. And so I didn't want to just go, hey, yeah, we have this new AI, and it doesn't really work. Yay. So, prefer not to have demo problems.
Fair enough.
Okay, so let's go check out and see what you've researched.
Getting capacitors just is the next thing.
Ah, so you're getting shields, I see. Now, I'll be the first one to admit, because we're still trying to iron out exactly how shields are going to work. The shield capacitor is kind of nebulous, what it really is doing for you. But the engine capacitor and the weapons capacitor isn't. We know exactly what that's doing. Although, as Adam has mentioned, having shields is kind of a... shields are definitely still broken. Is the best way to put it. They're overpowered. All right. Figure I might as well finish up the research here.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So
Factory is ordered.
excellent. Should I do like? Well, you don't do cannons. Okay, that's fine.
I got spare time to focus on the research while it puts together the factory.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, well that being the case, I'm going to start designing a new ship. Let's see what we got. So put shields on. Okay. It's an itty bitty ship. That's okay. Go to the Orion. We're going to put 5 guns on because I can. And it's already 256. So we're going to add in a nice handy dandy weapon capacitor. We're going to put 10 seconds. And we're going to put this right about there. And I actually made that actually viable. So I'm going to put that at 50, I think.
Autocannons are available for those who want them, and the factory is in process, like being built right this second.
Alright. If I add another gun, it just must be just over. So I'm going to lower this a little bit and see if I can get this to go at 250. Okay, so now...
Factory's ready.
Alright, so that's too much, it seems. Let's move this down a little bit. Alright, so now I have a ship design called Be Reasonable. Oh, bloody. And I don't have enough money to actually build it. It's an expensive ship, but this guy has shields. It has, yes, I see where it says 282. I think the capacitors are being added twice.
That's what it looks like to me too.
Alright, like I said, I had it running this morning, and so I was like, I only did it with the weapon capacitor before versus the weapon and engine, and I think he's adding it twice. Alright, if that's the case, then I'll deal with the reality. I mean, yeah, there's always bugs on the first time to go through these kind of things.
Is the cost higher than what you were expecting from the design? Or just the space?
I didn't pay attention. I can still go back in the designer. It's like, this is 2765. Yeah, the cost is higher.
Alright.
So it says 2600 in the designer and 2700 out here, and so that must be the, let's see, weapon capacitors 121 with another 24 space, and the engine capacitor is another 43 with another 8 space. So I think that
all tier 1 tier 0, ship technologies are now available.
fair enough. So 32 higher. So that should be 50, 82. And it might be a little bit more because of other things, but yeah. So within the same range. Cost 121 plus 43 is an extra 200. Yeah. It's... Yeah, no, it's not 200. 121 plus 43 is, 260, right? No, 160, excuse me. So 160 plus 2600 is 2765. So yeah, it's adding the capacitors twice, but it is counting it. I mean, money-wise and everything else-wise, etc. Oops. So, I'm going to wait until almost there. So you doing anything for our economy by any chance?
That's the next thing I can build. I'm trying to get research properly up.
Okay. I guess I can cheat and go over and see how the enemy base is doing. And yes, this is one of those bugs I'm going to be removing, so you can't actually go do this unless you have a guy over here to do this. So this is the enemy base. And he's got a warehouse, a couple of refineries. He's got 3 refineries, actually. So he's got an economy going on, but he's still building stuff. is he building next? If he starts building a factory, we're going to have people over at us pretty soon then. Yep, he's building a factory. So we were worried about him not having an economy. He's got an economy. He's got research. He's got reactors. He's got 1, 2, 3 refineries. And now he has...
mines?
Huh?
How many mines?
Just the one.
Alright, well, those 3 refineries have probably stopped being a benefit by now.
Probably. But he's still building stuff up. So, since I actually finally have enough money, I am going to build my own. Be reasonable. Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to do before early access was that if you move your mouse over, something's being built, you can actually see whose it is. Right now, I don't know whose. So who put one in there first?
Ogre.
Okay, that's cool. Now these things should have shields. Now, I didn't change the defaults on them, but they do have them. Yep. Uh-oh. He's got his yak blaster. He's got his first guy out.
Alright, well, our
Second
second
guy out.
refinery is up, so our economy just got a pretty big boost.
That's good.
The difference between the first refinery and the second refinery is literally everything. But honestly,
Not
you can also say the same about the research labs too.
True. All right, so we do have incoming. So I think, and I just crashed.
Okay.
Really?
I did. It's in the up to 8 factory queue thing. It's in the debugger.
Alright, so we all should just quit.
And I'll load in from before. Yeah, the producing's all screwy, so I'm gonna make a mark in here so I can actually. Producing. Just making a note. So it can be fixed next time. Alright. I will validate when our last save was. And we will continue. Alright, we're at autosave 6. Yeah, so one of the big things I want to change is do a date order on newest to oldest in the load. So that, I don't know, we can actually see what's new, so I don't have to go check each time.
Let me know when you're ready for me to rejoin.
Fair enough. It's compiling. Oh, there it goes. Just thinking about it. I will say when they do a release, I got the feeling there's going to be a lot of hot patches on this thing.
Probably. But
At least to get it stable. Yeah, it is, unfortunately. Alright, so 6 was the way. Alright, it's up.
acting.
Let's see when the last thing we were. Go spy on them. I guess I didn't start my
Now it looks like we just got the second factory up. Second refinery up, sorry.
Alright. Oh, I see you just took my my money, so alright. Just checking what they're doing. They have 2 guys incoming from their base, and they're still building stuffage. Fortunately, unfortunately, the fighter AI still is too dumb to not crash into the ground, so they're going to take their very sweet time getting here. That is one of the main things I'm changing, by the way.
Oh, you know you have the money to order new ships, right?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I don't,
Got
but
it.
because mine's already in the pipe.
I don't, because my money goes into everything else.
All right, it looks like I have enough for at least one.
Yeah.
I'm making the ship myself now. It's in the queue.
All right, mine's going to be out in 14 seconds. 10-ish.
Mine's
All
got
right.
90 seconds approximately.
Fair enough.
After that other one.
So once we got a fleet together, let's go raid the enemy base, because that's the point. They have
Yay.
3 people at this point. So I'm going to double click on self to get back to the base. And that's got to be my guy there. And I will possess. And it looks like I have shields and clusters of stuff-ish. The recharge is not great, but let's see what happens. At least it is recharging. Alright, I'm heading over to the enemy base. Or someone on the way over there already, I guess. That's you, Ogre?
I just flew up.
Okay, well, I'll fly up and join you. Oh, there you are. I guess you're up and back that way.
So I couldn't even see the enemy base from down below.
Fair enough. So we're gonna wait for the 3rd ship, and then all 3 of us can go over there and go gacking things?
Sure.
I'm waiting for it to pop out.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't know, especially with shields, how well this is going to recharge the weapons, but it doesn't look too great that way. Alright, well, here's the thing. So if we're up high enough where the resolution of the mountains go away, you can really see where the enemy city is.
Yes.
So that's
I
a problem.
That.
Huh?
I noticed that it's like, okay. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, so...
All right, I'm in my new ship.
Yeah. So it's very visible or noticeable when it's up here, but when we res up the terrain, it's still kind of there, but you kind of have to see it. I'm about to smack it to the ground anyway. Boink. Alright. Alright, let's go over and see what we got. Let's get the guys that are closer, meaning the enemy ships that are probably incoming.
I like the look of the polygonal shield through the cockpit. It's nice.
I do like it. I know some people aren't going to like it, but, you know, each to their own, I guess. I was playing Doom Eternal, and they had shields on one of the big bosses, and it was all polygony too.
How about a shader effect, like a coursing, like, energy, like, through it, so it's only, like, visible, like, half the time as, like, a
It can be done.
process?
I mean, we can have it, fade in and out and that kind of thing. I mean, that's the whole thing. We really need a concept, and I can implement the concept, if that makes any sense.
Even just fading the seams a little bit more would probably make it more palatable to more people.
Okay. I mean, it's... There's lots of things that can be done. We just have to do it, kind of thing. Alright. I assume everybody else is on the way over there, too. Okay, I got my first spotted ship. Alright. They're still hugging the ground. They're about 36 clicks out.
I'm a little behind you and up, so they're about 40 from me.
Fair enough. Yeah, not super afterburnering. I am still very concerned that the capacitors won't be good enough in the full-on fight, especially when you're talking about blowing up buildings, but we'll see what happens. That's another thing. We could actually start making, cargo ships with salvage equipment to pick up the derelicts. Yeah, they really are having a hard time getting out of their base. So here's the one thing that's going to go away, is right now if I start blasting these guys, they're not going to react to me. Oh, ow. And he reacted to me. Different guy. Alright, you. I think he's toasty. Oh, yeah, he's definitely toasty. Hi.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, they definitely, like, zotted my nose. I got him. We got more incoming. Guess I'll get this guy. Let's see if he's going to be on to me. Whoosh. Alright. We take out some reactors. Oh, we have more incoming. He's got a couple of... They got a lot of guys that come out, actually.
I am crashing.
I am... Yes, yes you did.
I do not know why.
Should we take out the warehouse? There goes his warehouse. I'll take out one of the reactors here. Ohmsies! There we go. Yeah, my shields have definitely seen better days. It's not... My shields are not recharging very well.
Reconnecting.
Yeah, sure. I really should put little messages up saying when people are reconnecting and stuff like that, so that the server can actually tell what's going on with that.
Okay, crash on rejoin.
Really?
Yep.
You want to try again since we're still doing our thing?
Sure.
I mean, we're making mincemeat of their... Whoops. Oh, there's another reactor. Very beautiful thing, I think.
I'm taking out their factory.
Probably not a bad idea.
Their factory's gone.
Yeah, there's really not a hell of a lot left of these guys. Here's one of his refineries. And you're not able to rejoin at all.
I haven't tried again yet.
Okay.
I am now trying.
There's not much left of them. You always gotta pause when you try to join.
No, I get to the actual, like, seeing the game, the actual in-game screen, then I crash.
Okay. Oh, it's, BuilderBot ran. I mean, really far away ran. I can't even tell where it is.
I just took out one of the other builder bots.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 41,000 away. It's just gone. For whatever reason, the one mined is not one to just blow up. I don't know why. It just there's nothing left of it, but it just doesn't pop. Does everybody else see? I mean, you're shooting at it, so everybody else is seeing it. They're just it's dying. It's the immortal whatever. So, all right. At this point, they're all dead. I think we all easily say that. Which I think, yeah, yes. Now, Ogre, performance-wise of the guns, was it really ever a problem?
Yes, trying to blow this shit up right now.
Well, there's an immortal, mine there right now, but everything else got blown up.
Yes, if the enemy ships were fighting and reacting, it would be a problem.
They will next time.
I expect it to be a problem then.
Okay. And that's a ship design thing, but you can see that we have, 6 guns, I think?
Looks about right, yeah.
So 6 guns versus 4, that's 50% more firepower. Plus we have shields, which is a big deal. Although I'll admit that my shields are not regenning very well. I mean, you look on the live streaming, you definitely see how fractured up my shields are. They're not regen. That may be just because of what they are, or I don't know what they are.
Look, scan me. I'm pretty beat up.
Fair enough. Ogre. Well, yeah, they hit a little bit of the armor there, but then they didn't actually get in on you, though.
It's showing a lot of black, and the shields are very low. But
yes.
It's more kind of the point.
The shields are low, although my shields are lower than yours are, technically. But
they've been sitting here regenning.
At least yours is regenning, mine aren't.
Yeah, my shields
are you moving around?
Huh?
Because I've been mostly sitting still, and I've not been firing recently, so that's when they started regenning.
Ah, yeah, mine's starting to regen too now because I'm not moving.
Yeah,
I'm seeing it.
For the immortal mine, I was sitting basically ground level near it, just kind of hovering and firing.
Yeah, no, I'm watching my shields are slowly regenning.
So what did shoot back at you guys? Do they have turrets?
No. Their enemy ships did actually notice us and fire at us before we ate them, but they didn't have as many guns as we did. They had maybe 2 or 3 guns, and we had 6, and we have shields and they didn't, and we cut right through them, which is kind of nice, actually.
What's up? So what's the problem you're predicting, Ogre?
If they actually were fighting him seriously, because they did outnumber us significantly, he would take a lot bigger harshing than what happened.
Yeah.
And because and the shields are not regenning very well because of lack of power.
Exactly. Sitting here doing almost nothing, they're regenning, but moving at all seems to impede that. Not even firing weapons, just moving at all.
He's not wrong. And I think that's going to be something we're going to have to sort of look at and see, well, what's the best way of designing ships?
Yeah, that sort of sounds like what happens when you make ships with very small reactors that you can put a bazillion guns on them.
Yeah. Now, I've been doing well because my guns are doing very well, but I mean, Ogre's 100% right. If you're doing a shield-based ship, I'll revalidate it, but I mean, for the most part, yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing for it to regen the shields, and that's where the shield capacitors come into play, actually.
So I think it is worth noting though that in the past we've discussed that a basic ship, so some of the first ships you put out, about 2,000 to 2,500 RMs, and that is what I tell people in the tutorial. So although you guys were able to keep under the space requirement, you definitely blew over the budget on RMs.
Not really. It was 2,600.
I saw 27.
It was 27 because of the capacitors there twice.
Even still, that's that's at the high end.
Yeah.
Of that budget, 2,000 is really the goal. And so it's sort of like you built ships that are very expensive.
Yes, and they did a lot of harshing to the enemy. That's kind of the point.
But you were outnumbered. So what I'm just saying is that it doesn't really sound like a problem. It sounds like these are the consequences of the choices.
Yes. Very much so.
Those ships now need a lot of time to come back and rest and repair because they're capacitor based and not reactor based. Reactor ships are going to be more self-sufficient.
True, but
you have less stuff on them.
My weapons are already fully done. My engines are okay, and other than me running around, we're doing pretty well actually out here.
Right. For this raid out to the enemy base, it was perfect.
Yeah. No, it worked out pretty well.
For a ship that might be drifting through space for a while and away from bases, not so great, but we're not at that stage of the game.
Not so much. I mean, it's just using the extra energy to replenish the weapon capacitor, and once that's fully done, then it's regenerating the shields.
Right.
So it's really not that bad.
Right. But would you want to go to do another combat engagement immediately?
I think I could. I'd be a little worried about the shielding. I'm going to go with the self-damage and see what the distribution of the energy is. And that might be a big deal of why we're having the problems we're having. Because it automatically does the distribution, and that may be the problem. Because it doesn't, the auto distribution doesn't know that I have capacitors. Okay, that's exactly what the problem is. So 79% of everything is going into the propulsion system, and only 20% is going into the weapon system. So, and 5% is going into the cockpit, and that kind of makes sense. And the shield system is just blank. I don't know why that is, but there you go. But there's numbers here, though. The propulsion system's eating 436. The shield's only eating 1.3, which just makes no sense to me. And the weapon system's eating 1216. So I suspect that what the problem is that I can't even. It's not even moving correctly. I suspect that the power distribution equations internally aren't pushing the power correctly, which is why it's getting a little bit wonky in here. So yeah, I think that once that power distribution, I was talking to Matt about that we really should, based on your ship design, actually export the default power distribution versus just inferring it. And I think that will also change performance of these ships to be a lot better than they are, even with the current design. So I consider this a very successful test. And it's, you're going to have the first test willies, if you will. So let's get people's feedback, and what say you? So Ogre, I know you are a space aficionado, especially with some of these designs. Comments, if you would, please.
Only what I said before. I think if it's going to be a lot different in roller testing going with this. As Jordan said, yeah, this isn't the target, but people are going to do it this way. They're also going to go on the very small scale and try to ant people to death. So
yes, which is what the War Master was doing to us. They're definitely much smaller ships than what we're building. We did as high end as we possibly could. Now, if you notice, you can't actually build anything bigger than these until Jordan researches something bigger. And then that will be its own thing, which is kind of good. Paul, what is your point of view since you actually came out here flying?
It's a pretty cool idea to be able to mass produce, tiny ships with minimal parts and then just overwhelm an enemy with them.
Okay, that's definitely what they were doing to us. I mean, that's why they were seeing so many. I mean, there have been, 15 or so ships that they produced, I guess? So I'm looking at everybody. And so Paul got shot up pretty decently. Yeah, you actually got a hull breach going on there.
Yep.
So I can see the problems with your shield, especially on your thing there. And that's kind of cool. I mean, these things actually operate the way they're supposed to. Although the shield regen is kind of sucky, but that's to be expected. And
well, part of can't give much input on that. We've discussed this before. The target reticles are, when you've got a certain density of targets in an area, it makes it hard to see everything.
You're 100% right. It's one of the things I intend to fix relatively soon. They just change out the reticles so that unless you have it targeted, it won't be using the giant hexagon versions that we have now. It'll be closer to dots, if you will.
Yeah, like I said, we discussed this before, but
Yeah.
that was the other big thing that this just drove home. Like, where am I looking at fighters or buildings? What's going on?
Right. Well, I mean, if you look at the radar, different things have different shapes. So buildings are triangles, ships are squares, and each ship and different thing is going to have a different icon kind of thing. That's what it will look like on the main screen. When you have it targeted, it will look like the hexagonal funness that you have now. Pardon me. And so that's the idea. So these things changes are definitely coming in the next month with a lot of the other updates that we're going to be doing. So yeah, we're getting closer. So any other comments or suggestions before we wrap it up for today? All right.
Nothing before the stream.
Excuse me? Okay, yes. All right. Well, then I'm going to exit out of the server. Once I finish saving, of course. And were you ever able to get back in, Jordan?
I stopped trying after the third attempt.
Okay, but no one else crashed out, though.
Correct.
Nah, not this time.
Okay.
Do you want me to manually disconnect and see if I can reconnect?
Yeah, disconnect and see if you can reconnect over if you could, please.
Turn away.
And I'm actually going to check, see whether or not if I can actually load a save game. Now, I was able to before, because we did crash before, and I was able to reload it, but I didn't get to this point either. So I'll probably keep the save game and see what it doesn't like if I can't load it. Yeah, my shows ever so slowly regenerating.
It took a little longer than normal to reconnect, but I seem to be back in, so.
Oh, okay. Jordan, could you try reconnecting?
Sure. You sure you don't want the log?
Just reconnect.
Okay. Couple minutes.
Thank you. Because Ogre was able to get back, and I'm curious why you wouldn't be able to.
Plus, if you aren't able to, but then I'm able to, and then you're able to, it gives more information.
It does. It also means that I have a series of multiplayer saves that are on the server, and I can go through them and see which one got corrupted and therefore which one is okay, if that makes sense. I mean, what didn't like before, and now it likes again, if that makes sense. Something must have gotten blown up and therefore out of the system.
Okay, just waiting for graphics.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, the greeples and the line connects and stuff like that should start being removed when the buildings aren't there anymore, but that's nothing new. That's just okay, we remove them.
Okay, and connecting.
Yep, I see the pause. Okay, are you in?
Yep, I seem to be.
Huh, alright. Then I'll have to play with the multiplayer saves and see if I can find the ones that I corrupted and see what changed. Because obviously you're able to come in now.
Only thing I can think about is maybe the BuilderBot was doing that thing again where it pulls RMs from the warehouse incredibly slowly, even though I had lots of money.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe every time when I was trying to come in, it was doing that, and by now it finally got the arms it needed to build the building, so it's not doing that thing anymore.
I'm gonna have to make a very specific piece of code to say, okay, if you can't find it, search. It is ridiculous, if you know what I mean. All right, then let's exit out. It seems to be okay, and we'll go from there.
Yep.
I'm quitting out.
Quit out.
I'm out.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks with even more stuff. Hopefully with better AI for the ships and other stuff too. See you in 2 weeks.
Thank you for stopping by.